Hi, everybody. For section 2.1, I'm going to go over 4 problems to show you how to use StatCrunch to work the homework. So the first problem I'm going to do is question number 8, and they've given you grades for a class, A, B, C, D, and F, and they've given you the frequencies, and they want you to find the relative frequencies. Now, what you could do if you don't want to use StatCrunch is simply get the total of the frequencies, and then for each class, take the frequency for that class, divide by the total number of grades, and multiply by 100 to get the percent. But what I want to do is show you how you can do it in StatCrunch. So let's go ahead and open it up in StatCrunch. Now, for this problem, one thing you do need to do when you're going to work with StatCrunch and you're going to work with doing a little frequency distribution here, you need to tell it what the categories are. And unfortunately for this problem, they didn't actually load that into the data set. So I'm going to go ahead in variable 2 and put in the letter grades there. So I'm going to go to stat, and I'm going to go to summary, I'm going to go to tables, and I'm going to go to contingency, and I have summary data. So the first thing I want to do is pick the columns with the counts in it, and that's in column labeled var1, there's the numbers there. And then the labels, which are the letter grades, are in column labeled var2. And all I want is percent of total, and then I just hit compute. And as you can see here in my output, my percents are shown here, 5.41, 29.73, etc., and it adds up to 100%, and there's a total of 37 grades. So that's how you work problem number 8. And let's go ahead and do problem number 9. So this is also a frequency distribution, and again, they want you to get the percents here. Now this time, it's already set up for you if you open it in StatCrunch. So unlike the last one, the categories are already here and the frequency, so similar to what you did in the other one, you don't have to add any column data, any information here, it's already here. So you're going to go to stat, tables, contingency with summary, pick the column with the counts, which is frequency, and then the labels will be in the column labeled row or cause, and we're going to do percent of total, and we're going to get the same thing that we got before. We're going to get a little table here that shows the percent for each of those, and that's what they want you to enter here. Whoops. In the table, they want the relative frequency, so you're going to add the 9.78, 7.12, etc. And I should mention the numbers that you're going to see in your problems are going to be slightly different. All right, then I wanted to go up to problem number, let me just check my notes just for a second. All right, so I want to do problem number 10 now. So in this frequency distribution, in our classes here, so this is quantitative data, and we have lower bound, lower limit, and upper limit for the classes. So it says we want to use a class width of 15 minutes and a lower class limit, the lowest one starting at 0. So let's go ahead and fill in the upper and lower limits here. So we want to have start at 0, and our class width they gave us is 15. So the next lower limit, we're going to add 15 to the 0 to get 15. You're going to add 15 again to get 30. You're going to add 15 again to get 45, 15 again to get 60, and add 15 again to get 75. Now, if you take a look at the data, let's just glance at it for a second. They're in whole numbers here, so their minutes are in whole numbers. So we want to figure out where's the upper limit for the first class going to be. So if the next class starts at 15, we know this one's going to have to go up to 14. And so we know the class width is 15, so this one will go up to 29. So I can either find this by adding 15 to the lower limit, upper limit of the class below, or I can look at the next lower limit and say, okay, the upper limit for the prior class is just one less. This is 44, and this one's going to be 59, and this one's going to be 74. Whoops. And this one I am going to have to add the 15 because I don't have anything to look above, and I'm going to add 15 and get 89. Okay, now to do the frequencies, now you could sit here and count up how many fall into each category, but what I'm going to do is show you how to make StatCrunch do the work for you. So you open up the data set in StatCrunch. Now what you're going to have to do is create a new variable to tell StatCrunch where you want each of these commute times to go. So we're going to go to data, and it's called bins. What we're doing is we're telling StatCrunch which class you want to put it into. So select the column with the data, and we're going to use fixed width bins. We want to start at 0, and remember the bin width was 15. Now if you notice down here it says bin edges. It says include the left endpoint, and if you look at my table over here, let's go back here for a second, you notice we start here at 0, this one starts at 15. This goes up to 14. Now, when you create this table, you're going to see, I'll show you when we create it what happens, but remember, we're going to include the left endpoint. So the first bin is going to include 0, the next bin will include 15, and so forth, and compute. So it's going to give you a little message. It created a new variable right here, and this is what we're going to create our frequency distribution on, this column right here. So I'm going to go to stat, tables frequency, and I'm going to pick that new variable. And we wanted, I think, just frequencies time. Yeah, so we're just going to pick frequency down here and compute. So here's my frequencies. Now remember how we looked at that, include the lower bound. If you notice here, it shows the first class going from 0 to 14, but 15 is not being included because we picked that option to not include that right endpoint. So 15 is actually in the next class. So here's your frequencies, 4, 14, 13, 9, 4, and 1. So that's how you do that type of a problem. And I think you have one more like that also. So let's keep going. And the next one I wanted to show you was question number 12. So question number 12, and if you look at the data here, there's single numbers here, okay? And they show you in the table here, they're just going to have you put in the single, there's not going to be an upper and lower class here, there's just going to be a single number in each category. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so this is pretty easy because you can just make a frequency distribution on the data the way it is. So I'm going to go here and open up the data in StatCrunch. And I can just do a frequency distribution on that column because I don't have lower and upper limits that I need for the different classes. So I'm going to go tables, frequency, pick my column, compute, and you see this time I don't have an upper and lower limit. I simply have all the zeros are going here in the first class, and I've got a frequency of 21. What did they want me to put in here? I think it was frequencies. Yeah, frequencies. So you're just going to pick up the frequencies from that table here, 21, 15, 2, 1, and 1. So that's how you do that problem there.